G'day everyone. This video will be showcasing a solo for every major battle in Pokemon Unbound 2.0.3 on insane difficulty. Now normally for my videos I usually just put some music over it, call it good, as I feel the battles shown are pretty self-explanatory. But for Unbound Insane, this game has either a lot of unique mechanics for the fight, or I'll be using some strange sets or very specific EV setups that will probably need some explanation for anyone who either hasn't played it, or even for those that have and just want to know why I did what I did and why it worked. So I'll be including a little explanation of those during each of the fights. I'll be doing this run in sandbox mode, and sandbox just allows me to edit EVs, IVs, abilities, and movesets, all that kind of stuff on the fly. That being said though, I'll be sticking to only sets that were available during that point in the playthrough in normal standard Unbound. It just lets me skip the grind for it. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. First up will be your first battle against your rival. For him, I chose to give him the Beldum Metagross line, for reasons mostly towards the end of the game, but it doesn't really matter for now. Very easy fight, many options. The only thing you have to worry about is the Focus Sash Flail combo. That was just a jolly mucker heater. Sick fat. So this next battle is against the first gym of the game, Murskull. This battle is a double battle, which means you are forced to bring two Pokemon. You can't start the battle without two Pokemon. And the gimmick, as with all gyms in Unbound Insane, all the gyms have a gimmick. This one will have Fog, which reduces accuracy, unless you're either using an ability like Keen Eye, which Noctowl has, or you defog it away. Unfortunately, double battles that are forced on you in Unbound, you need to bring two Pokemon. So whenever that happens, I'll just be bringing a baby version of the main Pokemon. And even for this battle, I'll be attacking into the Noctowl with a baby version just to prove that solo is possible. I'm just forced into bringing two. My strategy here was just to ignore the fog with Keen Eye. The fog almost helps you more than it hurts you, even if you don't use it, because it just makes the Gloom spam Sleep Powder. I have a Chesto Berry on the Noctowl, and just my strategy is to Echoed Voice. Sweet. Getting slept once won't stop the ramping of Echoed Voice. Getting slept twice in a row is the only way you can really lose this. Thankfully avoid it, and towards the end I'll just try and wake up and knock it out with an Air Slash, and then finish it if it doesn't, finish it with a Confusion here. I'm using Shield Dust for this Ribombee to avoid the Fake Out turn 1 from Sableye. You'll be partnered up with Jax here for this fight, which results in another double battle. His team is alright, it's mostly just fodder though. So we ignore Fake Out, we'll always target the ally because of Shield Dust. Now Ribombee is really good here because both Bug and Fairy are very good offensively for this type. Swoobat is the main concern, as it is a damage roll to KO it here on the second turn. I have a Rawst Berry on the Ribombee, just to encourage the Sableye to spam more Will-O-Wisps and just do nothing. The damage is no concern really. Now the moveset is done specifically because of the Torment from Sableye. You want two of every attacking type. You want two Bug moves and two Fairy moves, just in case you're locked into a bad move. On, say, the Hitmonchan, you don't want to be locked into a Bug move. You just want to finish it off. Like here, I'm still locked into Torment, so I have to switch over to Fairy Wind. This is a pretty interesting gimmick that's only available in Unbound. They changed the functionality of Fling with Snowballs to be a freeze. So I Fling turn 1 here to break the Focus Sash and give me some turns to set up here. I'm still using Gluttony because Adaptability, which is added to Simipour, is a hidden ability and they're not available yet in normal Unbound playthroughs until Blizzard City. So here you can recycle back, play around the Sucker Punch for a turn. Again, Pignite has also has Sucker Punch, so set up one more time to guarantee the Oko on Escavalier here with Scald and finish off the fight. For the second gym, Vega, his gimmick is negative emotions, which is a chip damage unless you're a dark type or you have certain abilities will avoid it. One of them being Steadfast, which I'll be using on the Gallade. So Steadfast lets me eat the Fake Out turn 1, let me speed up and outspeed the Absol later on. Important thing here is to set up to +5 with Calm Minds. If a Will-O-Wisp misses, you can set it to +6, but it doesn't really matter. The main concern is getting to that +5 for the Pawniard, which will do more than allow Drain Kiss to do more than 50% damage, so Pawniard will be locked into Iron Head rather than going for a Sword Stance and KOing you on the second turn. Liepard does run annoyingly Night Days, which can lower your accuracy and can ruin the sweep, but it's not too big of a deal. The only issue really is running out of PP on Drain Kiss. So as long as you don't miss, you should be safe. You could probably play around the Honchkrow a bit better. It'll always use Protect turn 1. Now for this next battle, it is 2 battles back to back. I'll be using the Simipour Freeze Fling gimmick again. Unfortunately it has a bit of anti-synergy with itself. Scald will always defrost a Pokemon, but I needed to use Simipour for the second battle. So now I use Fling to freeze it, set it up with a Nasty Plot. I need this Will-O-Wisp to miss for the rest of the fight to go well, unfortunately. Or you can go for 3 Nasty Plots. Now Fling to break the Alakazam Sash and freeze it, and Scald will now Oko both the Alakazam and the Persian, finishing the fight. The second fight is against a Mega Houndoom, which is why I use Simipour over the Grass or the Fire version. Fling again to freeze it. Need to avoid the flinch there. Nasty Plot to guarantee the Oko, and Scald to finish. Would be easier if I used Adaptability if you're in the Sandbox, but it's not a huge deal. I stuck with Gluttony to make sure it's available for normal fights. This fight is your second rival fight. It's a very easy fight. Very easy fight. The only reason I'm using Simipour again here is because it just happened to be in my party. Set up, turn 1, and Scald Sweep. Again, it does have Sash here, but it doesn't do enough damage to be threatening. And finish the fight without a Scald. Now that we're up to Blizzard City, the Dex Nav is available. So that means Egg Moves and Hidden Abilities are available for Pokemon that you can find in the wild. So I'll be using Adaptability on Simisear here. For this fight, many fast fire types work. There's a speed tie with Frostlass there. But it's just a easy spam Heat Wave to win the fight. The third gym battle against Alice is a very hard fight. It has both permanent strong winds and tailwind for the opponent, which is brutal to come against this early in the run. Strategy for this one is to Cosmic Power and sweep with Stored Power for a Clefable. The held item is a Mago Berry. You can lose if you get flinch haxed at the start. That's no big deal, just a very quick reset. Other main concern for this fight is running out of Stored Power PP, so you need to play around the Skarmory where it's constant swapping in. It is a very tough fight though, because this fight has a lot of options to counteracting sweeps. Like this Gliscor here runs Toxic, so you can't just bring any defensive Pokemon and sweep up and set up that way because it'll just Toxic you. That's why we bring Magic Guard Clefable, very useful to blocking the Toxic damage. And also the Mega Pinsir has Storm Throw to break through any defensive setups you have, but thankfully Clefable's typing is a fairy. You can shrug that off pretty easily. So here we're just working our way through the fight. Stored Power, even with 0 investment, just Stored Power at +6/+6 defenses is still a lot of damage. So I'm trying to save my PP. Crobat has a Focus Sash. Break that and it won't try and set up nasty plots. It is a bit of a worry because we're forced into using Magic Guard rather than Unaware, that Crobat can become a threat. But as long as you hit it on the switch, it's no big deal. It won't try and set up. And then we try and finish the fight off here with Incinerates. In Unbound, the barrel gets access to no retreat as an egg move. That combined with simple as a 1 turn +2 omni-boost, which is ridiculous. Really good at this stage of the game. Also have it holding a Mega Berry, just to assist with the sweep. Getting hit by 2 Mega Horns here. Needing to break through the Focus Sash of Ariados. Yeah, once you get through that, it's quite a standard sweep, especially with the rain here to assist with even more damage. You could probably wipe out half of these folks with Aqua Jet alone. But thankfully Bibarel is a god and sweeps this fight very easily with 1 turn of setup. Up next is another set of back-to-back battles against Ivory. You'll be teaming up with Jax for these battles. Brought the Scraggy holding an Eviolite for this battle. Now at the start of this battle, you need Fake Out to hit Staraptor. If it doesn't, if it hits you, it's done. Just have to restart. But you set up 2 Dragon Dances here to outspeed the later Alakazam. But with 2 Dragon Dances, you're all set up. Sweep through the left side with Crunches. Take out both Meowsticks here. Magneton also brings in a helpful reflex, so you're not really in danger of Flare Blitz. Even if you get burned, you have enough Moxie boosts. That's not a threat really at this point. Once left side's taken out, switch over to the right side. With double Dragon Dance, you can outspeed the Alakazam there and KO it. Otherwise, you get hit with a Dazzling Gleam that will OHKO you. With that, the first fight's done. And you go straight into a second fight, which is against some Shadow Warriors, which are Dark Ghost types. Very easy fight. Your teammate can probably solo this. Up next will be a battle against Ace, Trainer, Alexa. We're using Slazzle here. The ability doesn't matter. Fake Out to break the Focus Sash of Breloom. Nasty Plot up to get the KO. We have a Chesto Berry on Salazzle, so we can set up another turn with Nasty Plot and ignore the sleep from Yawn. And with that, we have enough of boosts to OHKO the rest of the fight here. Just finishing off with Venoshock. And they'll finish the fight. The gym battle against Mel is an inverse battle. It's the gimmick for the fight, which reverses all type matchups, which means normal is a very good defensive type. The EV setup is so Porygon can't OHKO and will switch out turn 1. We attack with Return against Null because it's a Sleep Talk set, so as long as it takes damage it'll always use Rest and Sleep Talk. And it only has 1 attacking move, so it's very unlikely that it'll hit you. Even if it does, it's not a big deal. We have the Metronome on in order to get the damage range on Snorlax here to get the KO. Otherwise, you won't be able to KO and you can risk Paralyze. Jolly Nature with no investment just to outspeed the Swallow. And then we have a very easy kill against Kangaskhan to finish off. You'll notice a bit of a trend here throughout this run is whenever there's rain, it'll probably be a Poliwrath sweep. Almost certainly be a Poliwrath sweep. It's just that good under rain when it's freely set up for it. So this is another battle against Marlin, using a Poliwrath with Swift Swim, Citrus Berry just to help with the belly drum damage. Hypnosis turn 1 gives us free chance to set up. And then a very easy sweep afterwards with Waterfall, and Bulldoze is needed on the set to finish off the fight against the Tentacruel. But Poliwrath has just so much damage after a belly drum with Rain boosted that Waterfall will KO the rest of the team. Even with the Intimidate, it's not a big deal. And then finally finishing it off against Tentacle. Viewers of mine who have seen some of my Radical Red videos might recognize this rather unusual Alakazam setup. It's a physically defensive setup sweeper. Now all we want to do here for this fight is Calm Mind turn 1. If the Wigglytuff doesn't swap out, you can just barrier and then recover, and then it'll swap out to Victini. The miss doesn't really matter, it just makes the fight a bit easier. We run a Mega Berry here, just to make the setting up a bit easier, especially helps if Wigglytuff stays in for that turn 1. We run Magic Guard as the ability, lets the burn be ignored, and in this fight you actually want to be burned. It helps out with some of the later RNG. But the idea behind the set is it's tanky enough to set up fully with max defense, max special defense, and max special attack now. So now we can get rid of the Victini. And in comes Ninetales set up in Aurora Veil. If you want to play it safe, you can slow down, wait out the turns of Aurora Veil. We have the burn to ignore the freezes and play it safe that way. If you don't have burn here, Superior will come in and glare you, burn, so we don't have to deal with that. Yeah, you can play it slower if you want to, but for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna go through this fight quickly. Recover in front of the Altaria, not too worried about it. Recover up back to full. The Empoleon has a Life Orb, so after its attack, we're just gonna let it kill itself to recoil and recover back to full and finish off the fight against Wigglytuff. For the third rival fight, I'll be using a Citrus Berry on the Scrafty here. The main concern for this fight is trying to discourage the Vaporeon from coming in early. So we bulk up, turn 1, Drain Punch to break through the Focus Sash. We can get a free turn to Dragon Dance up here to now outspeed and then kill it. Having Thunder Punch on the set stops the Vaporeon from coming in here. Drain Punch, break the Focus Sash again. We now get Exped at +1, so we get a free Dragon Dance up here. And then finish it off with another Drain Punch. Drain Punch is a KO here, and we are set up enough now that Thunder Punch will KO the Vaporeon, preventing Haze from getting away all our boosts, and then can finish the fight with a Drain Punch. We switch to a Adamant set for Scrafty for this fight. Now this is one of the first Mega fights for the extra optional battles in this Unbound Insane Run. Now he uses a pretty good Trick Room team. Unfortunately for the AI, Executor is not exactly threatening, so we just wait out the Trick Room turns and set up. Amnesia is just to nullify any of the damage that Executor brings, and Drain Punch will let us out-heal the Leech Seed chip. Now with Trick Room done, we finish it off with a Crunch. There are 2 sturdy Pokemon on this team, so that's why we run Bulk Up over Dragon Dance, just to survive any of the retaliatory damage they do before being fainted. Drain Punch handles this all very easily, lets us ignore the Leech Seed, chip damage, as we sweep through the final couple Pokemon of this fight. And one more Oko against the Camerupt. This next series of battles is 3 back-to-back-to-back fights against Legendary Dog Trio, all omni-boosted, which is Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. We'll be using a unaware Quagsire, who's a real champion, absolute legend, that I probably wouldn't even attempt this run if he wasn't available. We do get a very unfortunate early paralysis, but the idea for these fights is just to tank through all the damage they do and wear them down with infestation and toxic damage while using recover and leftovers to ignore whatever they deal. The real threat of this fight is the Entei, which brings Hidden Power Grass. Now because we're paralyzed, you can lose this if you don't get the turn 1 Amnesia up into a turn 2 recover. But thankfully we hit that. The other option, if you don't get paralyzed the first one, is once you set up a couple of amnesias, you can get burned from the Sacred Fire, which is probably you prefer the burn than the paralysis, because the paralysis can, if you're unlucky enough, just weigh you down all the way. Now that we're set up with the amnesias, even a crit hit doesn't end up taking us out as long as we don't get paralyzed. The Calm set, they're all special attackers for these three, so Calm, fully special defense invested. Let's just tank through everything. Even here, getting really unlucky with paralysis shows how good Quagsire is. I do have a PP up on the recover, just in case something like this happened, because it is 3 battles back to back to back that you don't want to lose at the end of it just because you ran out of PP, in case everything goes wrong, which a lot of things did go wrong for me here. But now, thankfully, we've got the Toxic set up, can get the Infestation set up, and we're pretty safely through this gauntlet of fights. The next fight is another back-to-back battle against some legendaries. Very tough fight. It's 2 Dynamax battles back-to-back, which are the absolute bane of my existence in solo runs. Now, it's something that I've been trying to avoid this run, and will always try to avoid from here on out, unless it's absolutely mandatory, is avoiding the use of evasion. It is just kind of luck. There's no real strategy to it. We're using a fully defensive, physically defensive Quagsire with Unaware here to ignore the omni-boost from Ho-Oh and Lugia, while we let it chip itself down with Brave Bird damage. Need to be as high health as possible as we finish this fight off with a break to break 2 of the raid shields at once. The Lugia fight is the real tough one. You need Toxic to miss, as we set up another double team. You need it to miss that 90% chance. If it hits, you just get you lose the Toxic race. You need to break the shields before you can Toxic it down, and then after that, just try and set up as many double teams as possible, as safely possible, while recovering. Get very close to dead here, but you need to take a lot of risks to get this fight done. It is... Dynamax is really not a balanced around a solo thing, which is fine. Pokemon isn't balanced around soloing it, but yeah, you do need to take a lot of chances to be able to get this one beaten. Thankfully though, we get there. Now you might recognize this from the fighting monotype run I did just recently. Just revisiting the strat again. The Breloom is holding a Rosalie berry, which will come into use here as we take out the Bishop turn 1. With a Rosalie berry, it prevents the Absol from coming out, and the AO will send in the Honchkrow. So with this, we can Muck Punch down the Lipard to KO that, and the Crocodile will outspeed and KO the Honchkrow with a Stone Edge. The Drapion is not a big threat to us. It's the Absol, which we KO. Drapion targets the Crocodile, which is no big deal. Spore to stop Spiritomb shenanigans as the Crocodile finishes off the Drapion. Thankfully we get a very good teammate in Crocodile this early. And then slowly whittle it down with Bullet Seeds to finish off the fight. EVs don't really matter here. The main things are getting Sturdy as the ability, having 3 electric attacks, and Mirror Coat. This forces the AI, who's controlling this fight, to choose Mirror Coat turn 1 and get the easy KO. We'll be using a hidden ability Alola Ninetales here. You'll have to use a Dream Mist in order to get the hidden ability at this point in the game. You can't find it in the wild, the only one's for NPC trade and doesn't come with its hidden ability. We have it holding an Adrenal Orb to get the turn 1 speed up against the Gyarados. We need to hit the Hypnosis here and get 2 turns of sleep as we set up a nasty pot in order to get the Oko with Moonblast. And here as well we have the hidden ability. We get the Hypnosis on Gengar, the Hail will then break its Focus Sash, and then Ice Beam will get the KO. After an Ice Plot, Ice Beam can KO the Thundurus, and Moonblast will have enough damage to kill the Umbreon. This is why we need to be full HP at this point in the battle, because Talonflame has Gale Wind's priority. Ice Beam for KO, and then we can finish off the Zeb Striker. Galavan is either a very tough fight or a very easy fight, depending on how you go about it. It's another forced double battle, meaning I'll have to use a baby Pokemon in the second slot. It has permanent Magnet Rise and Electric Terrain. Now, I'll be trying to do this without evasion, which makes it hard, so I'll be needing some help from the baby Pokemon. With Bulk Up turn 1 and the Scraggy's Intimidate and the Electric Seed boost on Scrafty, Klinklang will go for 2 boosts before attacking. Now with the free turns allowed by the Scraggy, I am set up enough with the Amnesia and Bulk Ups to tank through and go through the rest of the fight with enough damage here. If you want to be purist about it, I'm not really happy about it because it isn't fully a solo. It is a very low level Pokemon on the right side. But if you want to do this as a purist solo, just run evasion. His team has no perfect accuracy moves or any way to haze any boosts. So with evasion, you can just double team up and sweep the fight if they just keep missing. It's not a really difficult fight, but I wanted to try and beat this one quote unquote properly, so that's why I have the help from the second Pokemon there. This next fight is another Mega Trainer fight. He sets up the rain, so that means another Politoed sweep here. I have a Citrus Berry after we Belly Drum turn 1 to get the recovery. Need to hit the Hypnosis here and get 2 turns of sleep, because we need to be at as high HP as possible here for the Kingdra, which comes in and outspeeds us under rain. Thankfully after the Citrus Berry we're good. Rock Tomb to KO the Pelipper, and Brickbake will KO the Ludicolo here. After the Gyarados Mega Evolves, it gets Dark typing, and that'll allow Brickbake to finish the fight. This next Mega Trainer fight is another doubles battle, so we'll be using a little baby Cleffa to team up with our physically defensive Clefable set using leftovers. It's another Cosmic Power, Stored Power, sweeping up set. Thankfully, the Hitmonlee stops using Rock Slide as soon as the Cleffa goes down, so we're not in a huge amount of danger from being flinch hacked to death, but there is some. The Hawlucha uses Sky Drop here, which is actually quite helpful because it gives you leftovers recovery. And when I was first doing this fight, I was leaving it up and taking out the right side first, because most of these trainers have a Mega Lopunny as their second Pokemon. Unfortunately though, turns out this fight is actually bugged, because if you try and target the Lopunny while you're in the air with Sky Drop, you can't just kind of queue up the attack. It will crash the game. So here we have to take out the left side first just to stop the Sky Drop spam. And then Stored Power will OHKO everything at this point. There is some small danger of getting Confusion hacks to death here. We run Magic Guard, so even if we get burned, we're not in any real danger. Yeah, as soon as that side's done, you can finish and move over to the right and finish that off with a Stored Power spam. At this point in the game, the Shadow Warriors you have to fight in this area are all Dark Coast type Pokemon with Wonder Guard and omni-boosted. So the only attack type you can use is Fairy or use something like Mold Breaker. I use an Unaware Fable to ignore the Omni-boost, defensive set, so it can survive 2 hits, Citrus Berry in case you get crit turn 1, and then finish it. This next fight is against the main antagonist of the game, Aklov. And we'll be using a physically defensive Clefable Unaware set. And the main reason for that is because after this fight, you instantly get teleported, you have to go through a puzzle section, and then you have to fight an omni-boosted Giratina. And between that fight ending and this fight starting, there is no access, as far as I'm aware, to a PC. No access to any move tutors. The only thing that can change are like your TMs. So whatever Pokemon sweeps this fight, then also has to be able to handle the omni-boosted Giratina without being able to change its moves much. So that's why I'll be using the Clefable Unaware here. A few Pokemon can do this fight, but none of them can really then take on the Giratina afterwards. So unfortunately, we'll have a very slow fight here, just boosting up as much as possible. We'll have to be doing it under the effect of paralysis and flinch from Registeel. We have to run Moonblast here because instead of stored power, because of Hoopa, which is on Echo's team, which being Dark type, and that means we can't use stored power for Giratina, but Moonblast is a fine alternative for that, so it's not a big deal. It just means that this fight will be very slow, as well as the next one. So I'll let these two fights play out, and I'll see you again afterwards. This next fight is two battles back to back, with the second one being a double battle, as well as them having either boosted +2 attack or boosted +2 special attack. We'll be using a Medicham with a rather unusual EV spread for the second needed for the second fight. Psych Up or Bulk Up works here just to get rid of the attack drop from Krokorok. I was using Psych Up from earlier testing because the muck has Gooey. That was just to get rid of the speed drop. But the Expert Belt is necessary for the KO, guaranteeing the KO on Weezings, otherwise it's a damage range. We get through this one pretty safely. The second fight, we do need the Fake Out from Meditite just to get past turn 1. The EV spread is enough speed to outspeed the Crocodile to get the KO. If it has Intimidate, the run's over. You just need to keep resetting until it gets Moxie. But with that taken out, Fire Punch to knock out the Ferrothorn, the special EVs, the special defense EVs let us survive the Heat Wave from Weezing at +2, and then we can get the double KO here. For this fight, Barbs will inject his Pokemon, giving them all +2 defense and special defense, while you get +1 defense and special defense. Here we Dragon Dance up, Crunch to break through Claydol's multi-scale ability that it gets in this game. And then it'll switch out after that's broken. The Pekka Berry lets us cure the Toxic, and then we can set up against the Muck here. The real strategy for this fight was just getting the set right between nature and movesets in order to get the AI to not send in Honchkrow or Pangoro in until as late as possible after we've set up. If they're sent in early, Scrafty just gets KO'd without being able to have enough boost to break through that +2 defense and special defense. So this way we can set up a little against the Muck. We have enough boost now to KO the Honchkrow with Ice Punch, and Drain Punch now will then KO the Pangoro. If that gets sent in early, we just get destroyed by Storm Throw, and then we can finish off the fight with Crunch. Now Big Mo is a really interesting fight in Unbound Insane. His gimmick for his gym is that speed is based on Pokemon's weight, priority doesn't work, and that fairy attacks are banned. So I actually have two different versions of this fight to show. The first one will be the defensive, quote-unquote, safer option with Clefable. It runs Magic Guard, so Celesteela can't come in here and Leech Seed and just wear us down with Substitute and Leftovers Recovery. Unfortunately, that does leave us open to two threats on Big Mo's team. We have, because we're using Magic Guard, we don't have Unaware, so the Terrakion can come in and set up and break through with Swords Dance. And the other option that he has is Wailord, which is his Hazer. It runs Clear Smog. So that's why we have the Grass Knot on the moveset. With Grass Knot on the moveset, Wailord won't come in until much later. The AI won't want to send it in. Unfortunately, because Fairy types are banned and the restrictions on the moveset here for Moveset Syndrome, we don't really have a good way of damaging the Guzzlord outside of getting the Flamethrower burn. We're very lucky. I was very lucky with this run that I got it pretty much instantly. So it's just setting up, and I spam Grass Knot here because I do not want Wailord or Terrakion to get in here. Buzzwole has interesting AI in that it will come in, use one attack, and then always switch out. So that's why every time it comes in, it'll use Dark Lariat to go through a defensive boost. So I'll Wish Up, and then Grass Knot because it's the most damaging to whatever he'll send in. I do miss out on the Terrakion 2-hit KO here, just barely, but it's not a big deal. The main thing is that it doesn't Swords Dance up here, and then KO with like a Rock Slide. So again, playing around the Buzzwole, will always come in here, use one attack, switch out, and Grass Knot whatever comes in. Because everything's really heavy, due to the gimmick of this gym, Grass Knot is a really good move in general to have. Small playing around the Buzzwole, comes in again, Wailord. It does run Regenerator, so it'll switch out again. But the main thing is not letting it come in freely. If it comes in freely and gets rid of all your boosts, it's a bit of a danger. But now that it's so late in the fight, it's no real threat at all. Just finish it off with a second Grass Knot here. Cosmic Power up in front of the Buzzwole. Thankfully our Fairy and physical defensive, oh, not physically, but enough. We have enough defensive stats. And then with Cosmic Power we can survive through here and get a couple boosts, enough to just secure the fight, and then finish this fight off with a couple Flamethrowers. And we'll move on to the second option for this fight. Now the second version of this fight is a more offensive version, and it involves Blossom. Now in this Unbound Insane, and just Unbound in general, it gets ability Triage. That's why I was originally thinking of it, but because priority is banned, it doesn't actually matter. But you know, I still thought it could probably actually still work. We do need to hit the 2-turn of sleep against Buzzwole, and then it has to switch out for this one to work. We have enough physically defensive EVs to survive a Leech Fang or a close combat from Terrakion, but if you go too fully physically defensive, it sends in Guzzlord early before Buzzwole, and we need Buzzwole to be asleep for this strat to really work. So that's why it's only 206 defensive EVs. But with a Giga Drain and Fire Dance, we have enough damage coverage to hit everything. After a Quiver Dance boost, it does enough damage against even Guzzlord, which resists its attacks. And the Giga Drain prevents the Wailord from coming in instantly to get rid of our boost, and we could hit it on the switch here, KOing it. That's why we spam Giga Drain over Fire Dance as much as possible. And then we can finish up the fight here with a couple of Fire Dances. Well, actually no, go with Giga Drain just to get full HP, and then to guarantee the survival against Buzzwole in case it wakes up. And then Fire Dance to finish. This optional battle against Swizer and Bulo, we're using a Mamoswine with a Salac Berry. We have Hail on the set to break Bastion Sturdy and play around Metal Burst, and we Earthquake to finish it. The EV setup is enough to outspeed the Bisharp so that it goes for Sucker Punch, but enough defensive EV so that the Sucker Punch and then this incoming Garbodor's Drain Punch, after we Hail, will not KO and put us in range of Salac Berry. So we finish that Garbodor off with an Earthquake here. The Salazzle has a Focus Sash, so that's why we set up the Hail. We Dig, let the Hail break the Sash, and then finish it off with Dig. For this, Blaziken will always protect in one, so we Dig, let it protect, get its speed boost up, and then finish it off with Dig. If we miss the damage range, just Ice Shard to finish. For this mega fight, I'll be using another Poliwrath because it's raining. It just means rain, means Poliwrath. I'll be holding an Expert Belt just to get the guaranteed KO here on Walrein through its Chople Berry after the Belly Drum. And then it's a fairly straightforward sweep here. Ice Sponge to take out both Vileplume and the Luvani. And then we finish it up with a Waterfall. Another Mega Fight, and this one sets up the Rain himself, so again we'll be using Poliwrath. Belly Drum, we use a Chesto Berry to get through the Hypnosis. It is a damage range to get the KO on Politoed, about 56%. So either you hit that or Hypnosis misses, either works. And then it's a straightforward sweep for Poliwrath under Rain at +6. I will be using Tyranitar for this fight. I don't think it really matters. There are other options if you didn't choose it as your starter, but the reason why I wanted to use Tyranitar for this fight is a rather interesting AI glitch. Now, the AI prioritizes wanting to send in Excadrill here, but it has a Focus Sash, and so it doesn't want you to break its Focus Sash on the switch. So, because I have no attacks, like if you have Stealth Rock on the set, it'll see that as a threat to its Focus Sash and then send that, it'll swap, basically turn 2, swap the Claydol out and put it in. But because I run Iron Defense, it tries and prioritizes to protect the Excadrill, letting you get the free +6. It only runs Psychic as an attack, which you're immune to as T-Tar. So you just fully set up Dragon Dance and Iron Defense up so there's no threat to you on this team. And once that's done, you get the easy sweep with a Tyranitar. This Mega Trainer is another easy setup and sweep fight. You turn 1 Mean Look, as it always sets up a light screen, and then you get a free Calm Mind boost, all the way up to +6. You run Trace or Synchronize as your ability, doesn't really matter, they both end up with Synchronize, so it doesn't try and Hypnosis you. And with that out of the way, you can just set up to +6. You have Drain Kiss and Stored Power as your attacks. Drain Kiss in case you get crit. But with this and this amount of turns, you wait out the light screen, and then you can basically easily break through the rest of the team at +6. The only other threat is like a Gengar crit. Still does a lot of damage. But no, it's another cheese mega fight. For the final Mega Trainer fight against Rena, we'll be using a modest Clefable for a change. You need to avoid the confusion turn 1, so you can set up the cosmic power, otherwise you will be in range of 2 power whips and you will lose. So that's the big threat early on. But we avoid that, set up with a bunch of cosmic powers. We run Magic Guard to ignore the burns. Now, for Melodic, it does run Mirror Coat, so you don't want to set up too much. As long as you set up only to like +2, +3, it won't start spamming Mirror Coat. You'll let you break through its multi-scale and then finish it off with another Moonblast. And then we just heal and finish setting up here against the Rapidash, and then can pretty safely finish off the fight. The gimmick for Tessie's gym is Permanent Rain, as well as the Pokemon's typing will be based on the first to attack in a Pokemon's move slots. So, because it's Rain, it's another Poliwrath sweep. I do move Waterfall and Drain Punch to the first 2 moves, because I prefer Masquerain using Energy Ball rather than Scald and getting a burn. So we need the Hypnosis there, need 2 turns of sleep. And then once we get the Drain Punch off against it, we'll be out of range of an Energy Ball KO. But after that, that's done. It's a very, very straightforward Waterfall, Under Rain sweep. We have the Black Belt held item to get the Drain Punch KO on Latias here. And then can finish off the fight against the Sea King. For the 4th rival fight, I'll be using a Alakazam set with mostly defensive stats, but the EV setup is specifically for the Vaporeon later on in this fight. So we set up defensively here against the Mamoswine early on, using similar tactics that we used like against Maxima earlier, with Recover, Barrier, and Calm Mind. The point of this fight though is the modest nature and the EVs are just enough that when I'm at +6, it will be enough to OHKO the Vaporeon and prevent it from hazing us and getting rid of all the boosts. We run Shadow Ball as the 1 attack for this fight because my rival has the Metagross. Here we break the Mamoswine Sash, recover up again, and at this point we're very set up for the rest of the fight here. We can even take the priority Talonflame attack, no big deal. Haxorus is another one with a Focus Sash. So we just recover here after the Outrage. We will tank through that reasonably well at +6. Here's the main danger of this fight to any setup mon, is the Vaporeon being very tanky and hazing away everything. Now, after that's out of the way, easy fight finish with a OHKO from Alakazam. For this fight against the boosted Reshiram and Zekrom, we'll be using a Cheese Endeavor Focus Sash set with a Unburdened Hawlucha. Do need to avoid the flinch turn 1. And then we just Endeavor the Zekrom first, and then Rock Slide to KO. Depending on what your teammate sends out, the flinch may or may not be necessary. If it sends out Mamoswine instead of Vaporeon, it's a very safe fight. Reshiram will target the Mamoswine instead of you. But if it sends out Vaporeon, you need the flinch. For this fight, You are given your rivals, 3 of your rivals Pokemon, but we just ignore them in the bag there, so it does say I have 4 there, but it is still solo. Can't do that without them. Now, the reason why we have a modest nature and the 8 speed EVs, the 8 speed EVs are just to outspeed the Incineroar turn 1 to get the cosmic power boost up, otherwise we just get 2-hit KO'd if we don't win the speed tie. The modest nature is to do slightly enough damage than Mandibuzz Roost, otherwise we just get PP stored out. The stored power is on the set purely to stop the Toxpex from coming in early and hazing out any boosts. And letting us Oko at the end there. It is a safe but slow fight, so I'll just let this one play out and see you again in the next one. We will be avoiding the Hoopa back-to-back raid fights. It's just too much damage with no ability or a stat soul boosting. You can't break through that many shields. But for this fight, we'll be using a Triage Blossom, Protect turn 1 to avoid the Hyper Voice damage. And this was the main fight I was thinking about when deciding which rival Pokemon to give. So we're giving the Metagross purely for this fight, really, was my thinking at the start. Just to get this turn 2 KO on the Gardevoir. As we set up Quiver Dance in order to survive Kyogre's next attack. You can set up another one. And the good thing about Triage is that it works under Trick Room. So we don't have to worry about any threat from this team being outsped here. So we heal back to full against the Kyogre, and Vaporeon finishes it off. We target down the Stack Attacker here over the Tapu Fini because it's more of a threat with its physical attacks than Tapu Fini is with Nature's Madness doing fixed damage. Can utterly ignore it. Togedemaru comes in, Giga Drain outspeeds it due to Triage, and we can heal back up to full. We protect here again to bait out the last turn of Trick Room to avoid the Clear Smog hazing us, and then we finish off the fight with Fire Dance. Up against Marlin again here, we'll be teaming up with our rival. We're using a Jolly Scrafty set with leftovers. The Jolly nature is just to outspeed the Nihilego after one Dragon Dance. And Dark type is really helpful here, just to avoid all the shenanigans from Sableye. Here, once we've set up the Amnesia turn 2 to survive anything that Nihilego hits us with. And now we're fully set up here with Moxie Boost to sweep through the fight. The only danger to us from this point is the Beedrill, and we need 2 Dragon Dances to outspeed it, so that's why we set up another one against the Rotom. We're not in any real threat because we have the Amnesia set up. It can't knock us out. And the Sableye is basically dead weight for the opponent at this point. 2 Drain Punches in a row will take it out. And Sableye will get into like a recover stall with Vaporeon at this point. Rock Slide for the damage on Ivysaur. The flinch doesn't really matter because of the Amnesia boost earlier. And then Rock Slide will do enough to Oko the Beedrill here, and then Vaporeon will finish off the fight. For the final gym fight in Pokemon Unbound, we'll be up against Benjamin. And the gimmick of this fight, which does make it quite hard to solo sweep, is that Pokemon will devolve when they faint. So for this fight we'll be using a specially defensive Gallade with a Mega Stone. And what makes this fight difficult is that when they faint, they devolve, but they still attack. And the way the AI uses this particularly well is that both Araquanid and Magnezone have Mirror Coat, while Rhyperior has Counter. So you need to be defensive enough to survive many hits, because even if you faint them, they will still be able to get an attack off. And you need to have mixed defenses to play around the either the Mirror Coat or the counter from Rhyperior. So that's why we have both Drain Punch and a Stored Power set on this Mega Gallade. We run Careful Nature, even though it has minor special attack, just because we'll do enough damage. We just need to outspeed certain threats on this team. But here we're safe to use the Stored Power after hitting the Magzone lines sturdy, because it only does 1 damage. We're not any threat from Mirror Coat damage. And thankfully we avoid any paralysis. It's not a huge threat, but it does make the fight smoother. Even getting crit here, we're able to tank through it thanks to the especially defensive bulk of the set and heal up off the devolved Volcarona. And then we play around the counters here with Stored Power and then finish off with a Drain Punch to heal back to full. Drain Punch to knock out the Scissor, still get hit by a pretty strong dual Wing Beat, and then finish the fight. This will be the final fight before the Elite Four. Now normally this is a doubles battle, but if you only have 1 Pokemon in your team, it just turns into a back-to-back battle. We're using a specially defensive Grumpig with Leftovers and Thick Fat, and we run Hidden Power Bug in order to hit the Shift Tree at the end of this fight super effectively. So we spend this fight calm minding up, recovering, getting to +6, and then sweep through the fight. You want to be as high HP as possible at the end of this fight, because after it you come across a drought boosted Scarfed Typhlosion with Eruption, which is very strong at the beginning of a fight in order for anything to survive. So that's why we spend so much time here making sure we're fully set up and trying to finish this fight as high HP as possible. But I'll let this one play out. It's just slow. It's pretty straightforward though. But thanks for watching if you made it all the way to the end. This is my first time really doing commentary. I'm not sure if people prefer it or the normal music. I'll probably spend most of the videos, if I do make more, that way rather than doing full commentary. It's just that this Unbound Insane is interesting enough, the fights, to explain for. But if you did make it all the way to the end here, I'll be curious to see if anyone can guess what Pokemon I'll be using to solo sweep the Elite Four coming up in the next videos. Should be in a day or two. As a hint though, it isn't anything that I've used earlier in this run. Yeah, if you want to have a guess, down in the comments. I'll see if any of you can get it right. But again, I'll just let this one finish out, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.